Losses will visit you. That is not a possibility, it is a certainty. If you choose this game, if you choose speculation, trading, operating in markets, you have chosen a profession where being wrong is part of the daily bread. The man who cannot endure being wrong will never endure being rich. I learned that lesson young. In the bucket shops, I could read the tape like a book. I felt invincible. When I was right, money flowed easily, too easily, and that was the danger. Because the market has a way of humbling the man who begins to believe he has mastered it. You ask how to deal with losses, not how to avoid them because you cannot, but how to deal with them without losing your nerve, your discipline, and ultimately your fortune. There are 5 rules. They are written not in ink, but in experience paid for dearly. The first rule: accept the loss quickly and without argument. The market does not care about your opinion. It does not reward stubbornness. It does not punish humility. When a position proves you wrong, it is not a personal attack. It is information. In my early days, I would sometimes hold on just a little longer because I knew I was right. I had studied the conditions. I had seen the patterns before. Surely the market would turn back in my favor. It rarely did. A small loss is a business expense. A large loss is a lesson in ego. When you hesitate to take a small loss, you are not protecting capital, you are protecting pride. And pride is the most expensive habit in speculation. Cut it. Close it. Move on. The man who can say, "I was wrong," and act on it immediately, will survive long enough to say, "I was right," when it truly matters. The second rule: never confuse a losing trade with being a loser. This distinction will save your mind. A trade is an event. A loser is an identity. If you allow a single losing position to define you, you will begin to trade from fear, and fear is a poor advisor. After I lost fortunes, yes, fortunes I did not lose because the market was cruel. I lost because I allowed emotion to take command after being wounded. I tried to win it back quickly. I tried to prove something to myself, to others. That is revenge trading, though we did not call it that then. The moment you feel the need to make it back, step away. The market will open tomorrow. Your capital, once destroyed, may not return so easily. A professional does not seek redemption from the market. He seeks opportunity. Those are not the same. The third rule: reduce size when you are out of sync. There are periods when you and the market are aligned. Your reads are sharp. Your timing is precise. Profits come almost naturally. And then there are periods when every position seems to move against you. You enter at the wrong time. You exit too soon. The rhythm is gone. Most men respond by increasing size. They believe a larger position will compensate for recent losses. But that is like trying to steady a shaking hand by lifting more weight. When you are out of harmony with the tape, reduce your commitments. Trade smaller. Trade less. Or do not trade at all. Capital is ammunition. You do not fire blindly when visibility is low. There were times in my career when stepping aside saved me more money than any brilliant trade ever made me. Patience is not weakness. It is strength under control. The fourth rule: study the loss without self-condemnation. Every loss contains a message, but you will not hear it if you are busy cursing yourself. After the close, review the trade. Ask yourself, was the entry according to plan? Was the risk defined? Did you violate your own rules? Or did the market simply not confirm your thesis? If the process was sound, then the loss was merely the cost of doing business. If the process was flawed, then you have found something more valuable than profit. You have found a weakness to correct. Do not attack yourself. Improve yourself. In my greatest successes, it was not because I avoided mistakes. It was because I studied them relentlessly. I kept records. I observed my tendencies. I learned that my greatest enemy was not the crowd, nor the insiders, nor the rumors. It was my own impatience. When you analyze your losses with calm objectivity, you transform pain into instruction. The fifth rule: protect your state of mind above all. The market is a battlefield of psychology. Prices are moved not only by earnings and events, but by hope, fear, greed, and doubt. If your mind is disturbed, you are trading at a disadvantage. After a sharp loss, your heart beats faster, your thoughts race, you feel urgency. That is precisely when you must do nothing. There were days when I walked away from the tape entirely. I would leave the office, clear my head, remind myself that no single day determines a career. A clear mind sees opportunity. A disturbed mind sees threat everywhere. Your edge is not merely your strategy. It is your emotional composure. The man who remains steady while others panic has already won half the battle. Understand this. Fortunes are not made by avoiding losses. They are made by ensuring that losses are small and wins are allowed to grow. I made my greatest profits not because I was right all the time, but because when I was right, I was very right, and when I was wrong, I was only slightly wrong. That difference is everything. You must build a relationship with loss. Do not fear it. Do not chase it away. Respect it. Limit it. Learn from it. The crowd cannot do this. The crowd hopes. The crowd holds and prays. The crowd doubles down in desperation. And the crowd pays for its education again and again. If you would rise above the crowd, you must act differently. When a loss occurs, breathe. Close the trade according to your rules. Reduce size if necessary. Review with honesty. And return only when your mind is steady. Trading is not a contest of intelligence. It is a test of discipline. The market will tempt you to abandon your principles. It will offer quick recoveries and dramatic reversals. It will whisper that this time is different. It is not different. Human nature does not change. Fear and greed still govern the masses, and if you do not govern yourself, you will be governed by them. I have stood at the pinnacle of wealth and at the depths of loss. The difference between those states was not luck. It was adherence or lack of adherence to these principles. You wish for a winning mindset? Then understand that winning begins with how you lose. Lose small. Lose calmly. Lose intelligently. And when the opportunity aligns with preparation, press your advantage without hesitation, but only then. The man who masters himself can master the market. The man who cannot will forever be mastered by his emotions. The next time you take a loss, do not see it as defeat. See it as tuition. Pay it promptly. Record the lesson. And step forward with discipline intact, because in this business, survival is victory. And from survival, fortunes are born. You wish to go deeper? Then understand this. The true damage of a loss is rarely in the money. It is in what it does to your judgment afterward. A trader does not collapse from one blow. He collapses from the chain reaction that follows. You take a loss, it stings. You question your method. You hesitate on the next signal. That one would have been a winner. Now frustration sets in. The next trade you force, it fails. Now you increase size to recover. And in a matter of days, what began as a manageable drawdown becomes a wound to both capital and confidence. The market did not destroy you, your reaction did. This is why your greatest work is not chart analysis, it is self-analysis. There were times when I would feel an almost physical need to act. The tape would flicker, and I would convince myself there was opportunity simply because I wanted one. That is not trading. That is emotional relief-seeking disguised as strategy. Learn to recognize the sensation of urgency after a loss. It feels important. It feels justified. It is neither. Opportunity in markets is patient. It does not demand that you act immediately to prove your worth. A disciplined operator understands sequence. First comes defense, then stability, then offense. If you have suffered a series of losses, your objective is not to recover them. Your objective is to stop the bleeding. Recovery is a byproduct of regained precision, not aggression. In my most prosperous periods, I was selective to the point of boredom. I would wait for the conditions to align, trend, volume, market tone. When they did not align, I waited longer. The money was made in the waiting. But after a loss, waiting feels intolerable. The mind wants stimulation. It wants correction. That is when most fortunes are lost. Let me speak plainly. If you cannot sit still after being wrong, you will never sit long enough to be profoundly right. There is another matter. Few traders discuss identity attachment to being correct. When you take a position, you begin to build a story. You explain to yourself why it will move. You defend it mentally before it ever moves in your favor. When the market contradicts that story, it is not merely your trade that is challenged, it is your intellect. That is dangerous. Your trade is not your intelligence. Your analysis is not your value as a man or woman. Separate them completely. If you cannot detach your ego from your position, you will hold losers to protect your self-image and sell winners too early to protect open profit. In both cases, fear governs you. I learned to think in probabilities long before it became fashionable to do so. No single trade mattered. What mattered was the pattern across many trades. If your method produces more than it loses over time, then a single loss is statistical noise. But if you respond emotionally to each fluctuation, you will sabotage the very edge you work to build. This brings me to another principle: consistency of risk. When you lose, you must not change your rules out of frustration. Do not widen stops because you are tired of being stopped out. Do not tighten them recklessly because you are afraid. A rule that is abandoned under pressure is not a rule. It is a suggestion. Your system, whatever form it takes, must operate the same, whether you are up 10% or down 10%. Emotional variance in execution destroys mathematical advantage. You cannot think clearly while your capital is exposed beyond your tolerance. That is why position size matters more than prediction. I have known men with extraordinary analytical skill who failed because they traded too large for their temperament. They were correct often enough, but they could not endure the fluctuations required to let their positions mature. Trade small enough that you can remain rational. Increase only when discipline has proven itself. There is also the matter of environment. After a painful loss, many traders surround themselves with noise forums, opinions, news, predictions. They seek confirmation that the market was irrational, that external forces were to blame. This is comforting. It is also useless. Blame is a narcotic. It soothes, but weakens. Instead, reduce noise. Return to first principles: trend, timing, risk, execution. You must be able to sit alone with your results without seeking an audience for your frustration. The market rewards independence of thought and punishes dependency. And let us not ignore the greatest paradox of all. The fear of another loss often prevents the very trade that would restore confidence. After suffering, the trader becomes cautious. Signals appear, but he hesitates. What if I am wrong again, he asks. Understand this clearly. Courage in trading does not mean boldness without limit. It means the willingness to follow your plan despite recent discomfort. If your criteria are met, you must act even if the last 3 trades were losses. Otherwise, you are no longer trading your system. You are trading your emotions. Courage with discipline. That is the balance. The winning mindset you seek is not optimism. It is steadiness. Optimism assumes the next trade will work. Steadiness accepts that it may not and proceeds anyway within risk limits. When I captured my largest moves, I did not feel excitement. I felt calm, certainty that conditions were favorable and risk was defined. When I was most reckless, I felt intensity, urgency, heat. Learn to distinguish between those two internal climates. If you feel heat, step back. If you feel clarity, proceed. Finally, understand that longevity is the ultimate advantage. The trader who survives through losses, corrections, panics, and booms acquires something more valuable than money: perspective, and perspective reduces fear. When you have seen markets collapse and recover, when you have seen fortunes vanish and return, you cease to be shocked by temporary adversity. Losses then become routine events, not dramatic tragedies. That is maturity in speculation. So when the next loss comes, and it will, do not dramatize it, do not internalize it, do not chase it. Execute your exit, record the trade, adjust if necessary, protect your capital, protect your mind, wait for clarity. In time, if you remain disciplined, opportunity will present itself again, and when it does, you will be ready, not desperate, not wounded, not reckless, but prepared. Fortunes are not built in moments of excitement. They are built in seasons of disciplined repetition. Master your reaction to loss, and you master the game. Everything else is secondary.